It started with a sigh, not the loud kind, just a soft breath Evelyn let out when she sat on the edge of her bed one morning. Her legs didn't hurt exactly. They just didn't respond, like wires half disconnected, like limbs waiting for permission to move. At 73, Evelyn wasn't expecting marathons. But she never thought tying her shoes would leave her winded, or that her ankles would swell just from sitting still too long. She had always been strong, a gardener, a walker, a woman who carried groceries in one trip and smiled while doing it. But now every step felt like dragging wet sandbags, and it wasn't just physical. There was a silence that grew between her and the world, a feeling that she was slipping off the map, unnoticed. When her daughter offered to bring a walker, Evelyn just nodded, then cried alone in the bathroom, because it wasn't about the walker. It was about needing it, a lifetime of independence. Shrinking into cautious movements and forced smiles. And yet, deep down, beneath the ache and doubt, a question pulsed quietly. What if this wasn't the end of what her legs could be? What if they were asking for something? Not louder care, but gentler attention, and sometimes, healing doesn't knock loudly. It begins with a rediscovery. She never meant to hide it, but over time, Evelyn got good at pretending. She laughed at lunch with her daughter, then winced in silence when standing up. She waved at neighbors during her morning walk, then collapsed onto the couch the moment she got home. Her days became a series of gentle lies. It's just a little sore. Maybe I didn't sleep well. I'll be fine tomorrow. But tomorrow kept showing up heavier, and her world kept getting smaller. The kitchen felt farther, the stairs steeper. The garden, once her haven, now sat untouched, weeds curling around the gate. And something inside her started to whisper, this isn't just about legs, it's about losing ground. She stopped wearing her favorite shoes, stopped accepting invitations, stopped believing in simple joys like a walk around the block, because pain wasn't just in her muscles, it had found its way into her routine. And yet, she didn't complain. She didn't want to worry anyone, didn't want to become another burden. But the cost of silence is steep. And late at night, when the house was still, Evelyn would stare at the ceiling and wonder, is this how it starts? Is this how I disappear? Then one morning, as she reached for her mug and her fingers trembled from stiffness, she caught her reflection in the window. She didn't see an old woman, she saw someone who used to dance, who used to lift grandbabies with ease, who used to plant marigolds just because they made her smile. And something cracked open, not loud, not dramatic, just a tiny shift, like sunlight sneaking through closed curtains, because deep inside that moment was the thought she hadn't dared say out loud, I want more than just surviving. If this part of the story touched you, if you've ever hidden your ache behind a smile, you're not alone. And your story might just be ready to turn a page. It was a Tuesday morning like any other. The sky hung low over Oregon, soft with mist. The kitchen was quiet, still smelling faintly of toast and cinnamon. Evelyn was reorganizing her spice shelf. Not because it needed it, but because it was something she could still do sitting down. She reached behind the turmeric and thyme, and her fingers brushed against something cool glass. She pulled it out, eyebrows lifting slightly. A small, forgotten bottle, dusty amber with a faded label, rosemary oil. She held it in her palm, staring. She couldn't remember exactly why she'd bought it years ago, some article maybe, some friend's recommendation. Back when sore muscles were from gardening, not just getting out of bed. She unscrewed the top. The scent hit her like a wave, earthy, clean, ancient. And suddenly, she wasn't in her kitchen. She was back in her grandmother's garden. Watching her rub sprigs of rosemary between her hands before kneading dough, Evelyn blinked. And in that quiet kitchen something stirred. She didn't plan it, didn't research it, didn't ask permission. She just warmed a few drops in her hands and began to rub it gently into her calves. At first, nothing. Then a soft warmth, not heat, just presence. Her legs didn't scream in protest. They seemed surprised, like they were being remembered. That night she slept through no jolts, no cramps, no shifting to find a less painful position. She woke up the next morning not fixed, not cured, but curious. Because sometimes, the smallest discoverous air, not about finding something new, but finally noticing what's been waiting for you all along. Day 1 was quiet, not much changed in her legs, but something shifted in her spirit. Just the act of slowing down, of touching her own skin with intention, made Evelyn feel more present in her body than she had in months. That night, she slept without interruption, no cramps biting her awake. No endless tossing to find comfort. Day 2, her legs felt less tight when she stood up. She noticed it while making tea, how she didn't need to grip the counter. By day 3, her gait was smoother. She wasn't shuffling, she was walking, still slowly. But with rhythm, with dignity, her daughter noticed. "You seem lighter today," she said. Evelyn just smiled. Day 4, her skin looked different. Less dull, less flaky. There was a softness returning, not just to her legs, but to how she looked at them. On the 5th day, Evelyn climbed the porch stairs without hesitation. No gripping the rail, no pep talk in her head. Day 6, she sat in the garden, not just near it, in it, touched the soil, plucked weeds, felt alive. And then came day 7. She stood at the window, looked down at her legs, and didn't feel resentment. She felt gratitude. Because they didn't just carry her, they were trying to speak to her, and now, finally, she was listening. The oil hadn't worked a miracle. It had offered her an invitation. And every day she said yes, her body said thank you. If this story feels familiar, if you're wondering whether something this simple could work for you too, don't rush the answer. Just start small, breathe, feel, and let your body surprise you. It's not magic, it's biology. Rosemary oil isn't some mysterious potion, it's a plant. Simple, honest, but inside its leaves, there's chemistry that speaks directly to the body's pain points. Rosmarinic acid, camphor, cineole, these aren't just pretty words. They're compounds that reduce inflammation, improve blood flow, and soothe tense muscles. When Evelyn massaged that oil into her legs, she wasn't just applying a scent. She was waking up the microcirculation beneath her skin. Because as we age, blood doesn't flow the way it used to. Veins lose elasticity. Muscles stiffen. Fluids pool. And your legs, they start to feel like they're working against you. Rosemary oil stimulates the peripheral circulatory system. That means more oxygen, more nutrients, less swelling. It also relaxes nerve endings, which is why cramping eases. Why tension softens, why rest comes easier. It's not just what it does. It's how fast it speaks to the body. Unlike pills that have to travel through digestion, the oil absorbs directly, skin to nerve, a touch to tissue. And don't forget scent. The olfactory system is hardwired to memory, to emotion. The smell of rosemary grounds you, slows your breath. Signals peace, so yes, it's science. But it's also rhythm. Touch, scent, breath together forming a ritual that says, you are here, you are cared for, you are healing. And maybe the best part, there are no side effects. No prescriptions, just presence. Just that bottle in your kitchen cabinet waiting to remind you that your body isn't broken, it's listening. And all it might need is a little attention. It began as relief, but soon it became ritual. Every morning after her shower, Evelyn would warm the bottle between her palms, not rushing, not multitasking. She'd breathe in the scent, feel it settle in her chest, and begin her massage, ankles first. Gentle circles, upward strokes, then calves. Slow, loving movements, as if reminding her muscles they were still part of her story. She wasn't just applying oil, she was reclaiming space. By the time she reached her thighs, her breath had deepened. The world had quieted. 10 minutes. No phone, no noise, just Evelyn and her legs learning to speak again. At night, she'd return to the ritual, same oil. Same hands, but now the intention was different. In the evening, it wasn't about activation. It was about release. Letting go of the day's tension. Letting go of the invisible weight. She'd finish, prop her legs on a pillow and just be. Sometimes she added a warm towel. Other times she played soft music. But always. She ended with her hands resting quietly on her thighs, not fixing, just feeling. And here's the thing, the oil was powerful. But the ritual, that was transformational. Because in a world that told her to rush, to produce, to stay useful, this was her rebellion, her declaration. I matter even in stillness. It wasn't about the Rosemary anymore. It was about returning to her breath, to her rhythm, to herself. And little by little, that stillness began to ripple outward, not just through her legs, but through the way she spoke, the way she walked, the way she looked at the mirror and said, "I'm still here." Rosemary worked wonders for Evelyn, but it's not the only oil that listens to tired legs. Because not all pain is the same, and not all bodies need the same whisper. If your legs bruise easily, feel tender after long walks, or swell from just standing too long, arnica oil might be your answer. It comes from a bright yellow flower, and it carries centuries of wisdom from the Alps. It's like a gentle hand wrapping around sore tissue. Inviting inflammation to ease, inviting relief without noise. Then there's lavender. If your struggle is sleep, if restless legs keep you turning at midnight, if nerves feel frayed by nightfall, lavender doesn't just smell soothing. It signals the nervous system to soften. It wraps your muscles in calm. And for many, it invites dreams that had long stopped visiting. Or maybe it's your veins that trouble you most. Heavy legs, visible lines under the skin. A constant throb like your body is holding something in. Horse chestnut oil is for that. It's used across Europe, especially in Germany, to strengthen vein walls, support circulation, and ease that dragging weight in your lower body. It's not flashy, but neither is gravity, and gravity is what we're working with here. And here's the best part, you don't have to choose just one. Some days, Evelyn blended a few drops of arnica with rosemary. Other nights, lavender was all she needed. And on swollen days, horse chestnut was her quiet ally. She didn't need to become an expert. She just needed to pay attention to what her legs were saying, to what her breath was doing, to what brought softness back into her day. Because oils aren't about trends, they're about tuning in to rhythm, to response, to that small, steady voice inside that says, "This feels right for me." The oil opened the door. But movement helped her walk through it. Evelyn didn't join a gym, she didn't buy new sneakers or start counting steps. She just began moving with intention. Each morning, before breakfast, she'd walk a gentle loop around her block. No rush, no agenda, just steady steps, breath syncing with motion. It wasn't exercise, it was remembering. Remembering what it felt like to move through the world without bracing for pain. Back inside, she added 3 simple rituals. First, toe lifts at the kitchen counter, rising slowly, then gently lowering, strengthening her calves, rebuilding foundation. Second, leg extensions from her armchair. One leg out, hold, lower, switch. It felt small, but it reminded her thighs they still had purpose. Third, ankle circles, clockwise, then counterclockwise, a dance for the forgotten joints. 5 minutes a day, that's all. And yet, the difference was profound. Her steps grew smoother, her confidence steadier, her connection to her own body deeper. Because the body doesn't ask for punishment. It asks for partnership. And when movement becomes a form of care, not control, healing happens, not just in muscles, but in mindset. Evelyn wasn't working out. She was reconnecting. And each step she took, however small, wasn't about avoiding weakness. It was about returning to strength on her terms, in her time. If you've stayed with this story this long, you already know you're not giving up, and neither did she. Can I still use the oil if I have varicose veins? Yes, but gently. Don't press directly on visible veins. Use soft, upward strokes. Let your hands guide the blood, not force it. Afterwards, elevate your legs. 15 minutes, 2 pillows, and a little stillness can go a long way. I'm over 80. Will this still work for me? Absolutely. Your skin may be thinner, your circulation slower, but your body still listens. You're not too late. You're just in a new chapter. And healing doesn't check your birth year before it begins. Is this only for women? Not at all. Poor circulation doesn't care about gender, neither does muscle loss or joint pain. Men carry silence too, sometimes even more. And those who try this practice often say the same thing, "I didn't expect it to help this much." How long should I keep using it? That depends on your body. Some feel relief in 3 days, some in 10. Others turn it into a nightly ritual, not because they have to, but because it feels like coming home. There's no finish line, only feedback. Your legs will tell you when they need more. And when they just need rest, what if I don't feel anything right away? That's okay. This isn't a race. It's a return. If your legs have been tired for years, they might need time to trust the touch again. Don't stop. Don't push. Just stay with the routine. Stay with the breath, stay with the hope. Because even the quietest changes, a little less swelling, a smoother step, a better night's sleep, mean the body is listening. And if Evelyn could ask you one thing right now, it wouldn't be, did it work? It would be, did you stay long enough to hear what your legs have been trying to say? Her legs didn't become 20 again, but they became hers again. And that was everything. Because Evelyn had stopped asking for perfection. She wasn't chasing youth. She was reclaiming comfort, agency, dignity. Each time she massaged oil into her skin, she wasn't just easing pain, she was reminding herself, this body is still worthy of care. She no longer rushed past mirrors. She paused, smiled, and sometimes whispered a quiet thank you to the knees that still bent, the feet that still carried, the muscles that remembered. She started wearing her old walking shoes again, the ones she thought she'd never need. She returned to her garden, not just to sit, but to tend. And when her granddaughter asked, "Grandma, how come your legs look so happy now?" Evelyn laughed, not from surprise, but from knowing, because something had shifted, not in one big moment, but in a series of small, gentle choices, 5 minutes, a drop of oil, a breath, a belief that healing could still find her. And that belief, more than any product, more than any method, was the real medicine. So if you're still here, if this story has lived somewhere inside you as your own, take 5 minutes tonight, warm your hands, touch your legs like you mean it, not to fix them, but to thank them for carrying you this far, and for being ready to carry you still. If this journey moved you, share your story below. You never know who's waiting to feel less alone. And remember, the care you give yourself, Todd, isn't just for your legs. It's for the life that's still unfolding beneath them.